Hey everybody, how are you doing today? Welcome to Sources. This is where we get to the source and we try to speak to those personalities who are part of the source. And we have joining us this week in the program a beautiful young lady from my hometown, the mining town of Linden. Her name is Tiffany Bob Semple Johnson. Hey Tiffany, how are you doing?
Hi, Gordon. I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
It's good to have you here. You're back in Guyana after 18 years. And for those of you who might not know Tiffany, Tiffany is one of the creators of the Amazon Black Accelerator project. She's now heading another project across at Amazon, but she's been working there for a while. And so she's going to tell us about how she got involved in Amazon. She's going to tell us about life at Amazon, life in the US. But she's back here after 18 long years. You left here at the age of 10.
Yes.
So what has it been like to be back home and seeing everything different and so?
I think I've been having all the feelings. So I think when I first landed, I kind of was beating on myself that I hadn't been back sooner. So it was very emotional. And then I think the second part, I've seen how much Guyana has developed. I was a bit nervous because I didn't know what to expect. The way I left Guyana is the way I saw Guyana. So coming here, I've seen a lot of development in terms of the real estate infrastructure. And then the third feeling is Guyana has some ways to go. There's a lot of opportunities in terms of, where we are and where we can get to.
Do you remember leaving at the age of 10? Do you remember what it was like growing up in Guyana for those first 10 years of your life?
Yeah, I tell all of my American friends, including my husband, that I had a really sweet childhood. And when I mean sweet, Americans would call it, maybe that's a rough life you had, growing up in Second Alley, Linden, growing up in the scheme. I remember living in my grandfather's home, and it was about 6 different rooms, and people were just renting the rooms. I remember climbing trees, rolling tires. I was a tomboy. Going to the spring, Pagua, bathing in the rain. It was really fun. And then one of the biggest things that I mention, I tell my husband, is that Guyana is the land of many waters. And I remember my home would flood. And I remember my mom and my dad, they would get up early in the morning and bail the water out with the bucket. So
just to get it out.
Just to get it out. So those are some of the things that I remember. And then more importantly, school. I remember how competitive I was in school with some of my primary school friends, us just competing to see who's going to get first in the class.
And those good memories. So you moved to the US at the age of 10. What was that experience like for you?
So I actually moved at the age of 10 to St. Lucia.
Oh, to St. Lucia first?
Yeah, I moved to St. Lucia first, and at the age of 13, I moved to the U.S. It was a culture shock. With your accent, a lot of kids, they're laughing. They don't know where this accent is from. But I think what stood out the most is that the knit and grit of growing up in Guyana and the business exposure I've had here has really shaped who I became in New York. For instance, I was first undocumented, and I found out I was undocumented at the age of 14. I didn't know much of what that was. And I remember starting my own business of shoveling snow and sweeping leaves and just going to people's door, knocking on the door saying, "Hey, I'll shovel your snow for $20 at home." And I remember the first time I made $200 US in just one day. Oh, I was so happy. I was so happy. I came home to my aunt and I said to her, I made $200, and she was very shocked. So that's when I first moved to the US. It was just a culture shock, and me integrating what I've learned in Guyana and taking it there at such a young age.
And you've moved on from that and you sort of live the American dream. So often we hear about people wanting to live that American dream. But when you look back at your story, growing up in Guyana, moving to St. Lucia, then moving on to the US, shoveling snow, sweeping leaves, and now you're heading these Amazon projects. One of my friends told me one of the questions I should ask you is, how did you get your foot in the door? How did you get involved with Amazon? So take us back to the start of getting involved with Amazon.
So I think it starts with connections, or your network. I've had really great mentors in the US. I joined a church, it was a Jamaican church. And my pastor, she's been a phenomenal leader in the community. She started one of the largest nonprofit organizations in New York and still runs the program. And she kind of took me under her wings, and she had me in every little thing from beekeeping to starting the first farming program at the nonprofit, taking me on Fox News with her. And this was all at the age of 15. So from that experience, when I started college, I decided to venture out into environmental science. And that career path took me into the manufacturing industry. So I interned at Chrysler in 2014. Then the following year, I interned at Boeing, one of the largest airplane manufacturers. And while I was at Boeing, one of my roommates, she said to me, Tiff, we're graduating next year. I think it's time for us to apply for college. And I didn't know you start applying for jobs a year before you graduate. So I remember us sending in hundreds of applications to all these random companies. And November, I got a call from Amazon asking to interview me. And they first had the interview in Nashville. I couldn't make it. Then they flew me out to Arizona after Nashville didn't work out. And I remember going in, doing the interview, and right there on the spot, I knew I had the job. The managers, typically the way Amazon interviewing process works, you do 2 phone interviews and you do a loop. So the loop is it's like the bar exam. So there's like 5 to 6 individuals, each of them 45 minutes, and they're asking you these star formatted questions or behavioral questions. And I remember when the interview ended, a few of the managers came up to me, gave me their card, and said, "I want you on my team." I was very
Like Shark Tank.
Yeah, they were like, I want you on my team. Do you want to come to California? Do you want to come to Jersey? And I got a job. I found out I had the offer 6 months before I graduated college. So that's how I got my foot in the door at Amazon.
And how did you maintain your foot or your feet in the door at Amazon? How did you stay in? Because a lot of times it's easy to get in, and maintaining your balance once you get in, that is something else. Maintaining that job. So how did you do that? What experiences did you take along for that?
Yeah, so at Amazon, we index very high on 14 leadership principles. One starting with customer obsession. And then I think a really important one that kept me in the door is earning trust. So I think getting into the EHS, I've had several managers who became my mentors, and I've built those relationships by really earning trust with them, by showing up, doing what I have to do, and really delivering results, which is one of our leadership principles. And just me earning their trust, I was able to ask for what I want. So when I venture out into EHS, I remember wanting to do something a bit different, getting more into a business or entrepreneurial role. And I remember I reached out to one of the managers at the corporate office, and he didn't respond. And my manager at the time, she sent him a note and say, "Hey, you're missing out on a great person," right? And he responded right away, and he hired me. They flew me out back to Seattle, Washington, and things just started from there. But it's more so leveraging Amazon's leadership principle, because it's there for a purpose. It teaches you how to exist in the Amazonian world, which is very large. There's millions of employees across the globe.
One of the things people, I think of when they think of large companies like Amazon, and they hear of managers or executives at Amazon, they're expected to see the old guy with a stick who's been there forever. They don't necessarily expect to see a young face attached to those companies. But that's been changing for a while now, not just in the US, but globally. Were you at any time intimidated by that? Did you think at any time, maybe I'm too young to ride this ship?
Oh yeah, all the time. From the moment I walk in the rooms, they can tell I'm young. I've been on several interviews, and people would say, "Are you 12?" And I'm like, "No, I'm 28." They're like, "Oh, you're very young," and I think I'm a very young leader at Amazon. The tables I sit at, all the times, I'm one of the youngest individuals there. But it's intimidating. However, I think I have great mentors and sponsors who really show up for me, who really guide me to teach me how to navigate the corporate structure, how to navigate the bureaucracy, because everywhere there's politics. But I have really great mentors and sponsors who really help me to show up and do what's needed to be done to succeed.
So take us now to the Black Accelerator program, and we've been hearing so much about that you were part of the creative team that got that started, one of the creators of that initiative across at Amazon. How did that idea come to you? How did you guys get it started? Was that like your light bulb moments across there at Amazon?
So that's actually not the first program I launched at Amazon.
Which one was?
I started in EHS, and I remember there were millions of packages or waste that I was sorting through in EHS. And I remember there were like hundreds of iPhones that came in, and I had to discard of them. They were working phones. And the reason being, if a seller decides to stop selling and doesn't want to pay for shipment to retrieve their items, it automatically becomes waste. So we typically pay the cost for that. So I developed a donations program to cut us millions of dollars in waste management by donating those items to local nonprofit. So that was one of my big projects I launched. It didn't make the news.
Didn't think of that one being so big.
Yeah, it didn't make the news. But how I got started with the Black Business Accelerator, after I joined PR/the business development team, I ventured out into sales. This was e-commerce sales, helping sellers in the U.S. expand into Canada and Mexico and growing their businesses there. And just months into the role, I've been able to I had a huge impact on my sellers. They were making millions of dollars in Mexico. And for me, that was eye-opening. I came from Brooklyn, New York, and I'm just used to people doing what we do in the Caribbean. You know, you're selling on the street, you're getting creative. I just didn't think it was possible for me to sit behind a computer and make millions of dollars. So I thought to myself, what if my community had access to this? Because it's really easy to do it, and I've done it myself. And I remember going to my mentor and I said, "Hey, I have an idea. What if I start a minority business accelerator?" And he said, "Oh, Tiff, that sounds like a great idea. Here's someone that you should connect with." And I connect with the guy. I wrote a document. At Amazon, we write a lot. It's a lot of writing. I wrote a document. I pitched it to the VP. He said he loved it and he wanted me to go fast. So we just met on a biweekly basis, and the program became a huge impact. You know, $150 million commitment to Black-owned businesses.
And many of those businesses must have reached out to you after to see the difference it has made in their lives. So tell us about some of those testimonials that you might have heard from some of those businesses.
Yeah, we've had a lot of businesses that we typically showcase the great things that they're doing. I think one of the major ones is Power Hands. They're a sports technology company. They sell basketball and they pair it with technology. A lot of our sellers are making millions of dollars, right? Because on Amazon, there are over 300 million customers that are shopping in just one day, which is major. If you think of 300 million customers shopping at Border Market in one day, that's a big deal, right? And they're not paying at a stall or to stand there all day. There are resources at Amazon, for instance, Fulfill by Amazon, where you typically send it into the warehouse and Amazon manage the entire fulfillment process. So there are a lot of businesses who are doing well, who've been able to quit their jobs, to go full-time with e-commerce, as well as focus on other expansions, like expanding into Canada, expanding into Mexico, expanding to places like Asia and things like that.
And you must be really proud of that. So you've since moved on from that project. Tell us about the project you're working with now, and how different is this current project from the previous one?
Yeah, so after I launched the Black Business Accelerator, one of the directors, I contacted him because I wanted to venture out into tech. I've been in the e-commerce space since I started my Amazon career, and I wanted to learn something different because I know tech is the future. And I remember reaching out to him, and he said, "Hey, I know you. I don't have anything on my team right now, but I can create a role for you. What do you want to do?" And I had a conversation with him. And we decided that I would come into AWS to lead underserved or underrepresented founders. So now I'm the head of underrepresented founded startups, which are Blacks, Latinos, Native Americans, Asian, women, veterans, and people with disability. And our team have $1 billion budget, and I build programs to ensure that these startups are successful on AWS.
Her name is Tiffany Johnson, and we're talking with her here on Sources. This program comes through the kind compliments of our good friends across at Banks GIH Limited, Republic Bank Guyana, the Fireside Grill and Chill, and of course we're coming to you from the Oasis Cafe located on Carmichael Street here in Georgetown. Stay with us.
How fast is fiber? Think fast. GTT Fiber has 3 packages with download speeds of 50, 100, and 150 megabits per second. That's fast enough to stream movies and music, to chat with Gran and Fran, to study, and more. What would you do? Upgrade to GTT Fiber today and don't get left behind tomorrow.
It's not no egg ball by fireside, straight hard ball.
Them gal want seafood real nice this. Gal want floss with food on plate. Don't eat too much cause she watch her weight. Dog don't make stars with the gal lunch break. Them gal want fireside, just grill and chill and all of it. Gal want hard ball. Them gal don't want no egg ball. Yeah.
Wait, is with it girl them want? Fireside grill, nice curry and crab, lobster creamy garlic prawns, spicy wings, load ribs and
them gal want fireside, just grill and chill and all of it. Gal want hard ball. Them gal don't want no egg ball. Yeah.
Fireside, grill and chill. Just chill and hold a vibe.
Doors and windows, Republic. Rooms and more, Republic. A brand new rug on the floor. Come to Republic, come to Republic. Whatever you need, you got it. Come to and get your mortgage. Live the dream with Republic.
95 to 100% financing, 50% waiver of negotiation fees, plus one lucky person gets their mortgage paid in full. Turn some day into today. Talk to Republic Bank about your low-cost mortgage today.
And we're back with Tiffany Johnson out of the mining town of Linden. You know, we gotta always stick Linden in there, right?
Big up to the Linden people.
You have to always stick Linden in there and show you big up the Linden people. And, you know, Tiffany is one of our good friends, and she's talking to us about her experiences of living in the U.S., starting off a major project at Amazon. She's now leading another major project at Amazon. And so that's part of our discussions here today with Tiffany. Now, family must have played an important role for you. You're young and you're married. Tell us about that home life now with your husband, Aaron. He's right across there. Tell us about the home life with him, the support you've gotten from him as you've ventured out into these various initiatives at Amazon.
Yeah, I don't think I could have done any of this without my husband, for sure. I'm a firm believer that teamwork makes the dream work. If you want to go far, go together. If you want to go fast, go alone. And Aaron and I got married pretty young. I think we were 21 and 22, and we only knew each other for 8 months before we got married. Now we're married for 6 years, going on 7. I think just him having the experience of being in Seattle, he's the reason why I'm in Seattle. And I remember
So you were love struck.
Well, actually, he moved to New York for me. Oh. He conned me. He moved to New York for me, and after staying there for about a year, he decided that he wanted to move back to Seattle to be near family. and I decided I was going to find a new role at Amazon to do a transfer. But Aaron, just him spearheading that move to Seattle, I think has really opened my eyes, because Seattle is such a tech-focused city. A lot of the tech headquarters like Amazon, Microsoft, Google, Facebook, they're all situated in Seattle. So just having him there, having our incomes paired together has really propelled us at a young age. We're both working for Amazon. We're both invested in real estate very heavily in Seattle, recently expanded to Atlanta, Georgia. And I think just my values and the things that I've learned in marriage through marriage therapy has really allowed me to show up and build genuine relationships at work. So I think that has really trickled down, not just into my marriage, but how I build trust with people, how I show that I'm committed to what I'm doing at work.
And that's an important issue you raised there, trust and marriage, and being supportive of each other, because there might be some young couples watching at this right now, and they're thinking, married at 21 and 22, that's a pretty young age. So how did you know it was the right thing that you were doing, and how have you sort of kept the interest? A 21-year-old falling in love is one thing, getting married is another.
I think people have an idea of love that isn't what love really is. Love isn't a feeling, it's an action. It's what you do in spite of how you feel. And when Aaron and I got married, our first year of marriage was significantly hard, I think merely for our cultural differences and how we were raised. But therapy has just helped a whole deal. Therapy has really taught us that love is not a feeling. Love is how you show up. And if you're committed, you have to be intentional every single day, because you made a choice to be married, and you can actually make it work and be happy. So we did 2 years of therapy, and we've just been showing up and committing to each other and really enjoying life. And when we hit that roadblock, we consider therapy again, like let's get an intervention to help us get over this roadblock.
And talking about the wider family now, your mom is very supportive. You got a lot of sisters and your brother, so it's a big team behind you. The role of family in allowing you to reach your goals, in allowing you to be successful in your areas.
Yeah, my mom and my 2 younger sisters live with us. And it's just been really, really helpful. We have a pretty big home, and my mom, she loves to clean. She loves it. We clean, but she's always cleaning.
The guy needs her.
Yes, she can't sit down. But with a lot of the rentals that we're doing, my mom and my sisters, we call them the property managers. So we've been able to pay them to take care of the properties. When we launched in Atlanta, since Aaron and I both work a full-time job, they flew out. They did the design. My sister is very tech savvy now. She ensured that the home is automated, so we don't have to be on site. The cleaners can just go in and go out. So just having them has really allowed us to tap into different investments that we're interested in, but not have to do it ourselves. So we have the support, and we get to keep the money in the family.
And that's always a good thing, to keep it around in the family. Charity begins at home, right? So you've used those experiences to sort of assist you in propelling your way through Amazon. There are a lot of young people who might be watching at this, or who are watching at this, and they might not have that support team. They come from a different background. They might not have a husband who's as supportive, or a mom who's there, or sisters or brothers who are there. What would you say to them if they're venturing out into business and they're looking for that sort of support to keep them going, to encourage them, but they're not showing up? What would you say to those persons?
So it's a digital age. I think there are a lot of digital communities that they can join. I, in particular, as a professional, I'm really present on LinkedIn, more than I am on Facebook. And LinkedIn has a really strong support system of business-minded individuals who are doing different things. I would say create a LinkedIn profile, whether you're looking for a job, whether it's in Guyana or outside of Guyana, or if you're looking to start a business, LinkedIn has just been really helpful in me building communities. And if there are no communities that exist, start one. I would say start one and build a tribe. Like, it's so important to do that. I don't believe in self-made. I don't think that's a thing. So build a tribe and ensure that you have your mentors, you have your sponsors, and you have people that you can pull up as you're climbing that ladder.
And that's always important, to pull other people up with you. I know you're back in Ghana, as we said at the top of the show, after 18 years. You had a chance to meet with the president and had some conversations with him. What was that like for you, returning home after 18 years and meeting with the president, having conversations with him, telling him about your experiences and ways that you can probably work along to improve some things in Guyana?
It was great. It was very unexpected. I didn't think I was coming to Guyana to meet with the president. Thanks to you, Gordon. He was very down to earth, and I think I appreciated that the most. But we talked a bit about, what I've been able to do in the U.S. I asked him, where can I support him? How can I add value to the work that he's doing and that Guyana needs? And he mentioned to me, there's an opportunity to support the entrepreneurial system here. And he wants me to come back and maybe lead some trainings, get some additional resources for the youths here, which I'm happy to do. He talked a little bit about the real estate opportunity that Guyana affords. And I think that in particular is really huge to bring in jobs to Guyanese, well-paying jobs, especially if foreigners abroad are coming in, for the oil and the gas. So he talked a bit about that. He talked a bit about the diaspora, how he wants Guyanese to truly benefit from what's happening in the country. So he needs ambassadors. He needs people who are going to help him get the work done. And I'm here. I have resources in the U.S., resources, from a technical aspect, entrepreneurship. So I'm excited to see what can be done to help Guyanese truly benefit.
What would you say, though? I know there's a small business bureau here in Ghana that comes under the government. What would you say are some of the things that they need to be doing to supporting young people in business, to supporting startups, to supporting those who may be unrepresented?
Mm-hmm. So 2 things I see with the underserved groups, and I think it's very similar for Guyana: access and awareness, access to capital, access to different resources, and ensuring that it's equitable, ensuring that if I'm 5 feet and the other person is 6 feet, then I need a crate that's 1 feet, to get to their level. And I think awareness. There's a lot of information out there outside of Guyana, and I think it will be good to see how we can get the team who are the source of these resources to be present to really ensure that Guyanese are aware that some of these resources exist.
And one of the things too, when you talk to young people in business, it appears as though many of them, they want the success overnight. And I've heard business people say it doesn't happen that way. This is not going to be a fairy tale, Cinderella story. Somebody's going to come check your foot size and see if it fits. But they should be in it for the long haul. They should be in it for the long run. How do you respond to that? What would you say to folks who may be looking for overnight success?
Yeah, that's not a thing. It may happen for some, but the chances are very small. You have to be committed. You have to be committed. I believe in incremental change. Take it one day at a time. If you try to go too fast alone, it's not going to work, right? So, but show up, build that trust, show your customers that you're really committed to what you're building and you see value in it. And I think over time, your customers will see value in what you're building as well.
Where do you see yourself in another 5 years? Where can we see Tiffany in 5 years?
I think there are different. I'm a multi-potentialite. I call myself a multi-potentialite, meaning I have different
Multi-potentialite.
Yeah, different interests and different passions. So I think I see myself diving a little deeper into real estate. I think that has been working really well for myself and my husband, Aaron. And then in terms of the corporate, I've never thought about climbing the ladder and going really high at corporate, but it's looking like it's going to be that way with the support that I'm having at Amazon and just other companies that have been poaching me. And then I think I want to expand my skill sets and help drive resources outside of the US, Guyana, Africa. These are some of the initiatives that I'm working on right now. So I want to venture out to see how I can expand my borders of support.
And as we get ready to wrap up, Tiffany, I want us to talk a little about women in business and how they can survive. It's a tough world out there in many instances for women in business getting in and then staying in and surviving. More and more you're seeing them showing up, but sometimes showing up is not necessarily enough. What advice would you offer to them? What has been your experience in that regard?
I think being a woman in business, the world is going to be the world. We have ways to go in terms of equity for women. But I think stay the course. Don't give up. Eventually it's going to happen. Stay the course, build your tribe, ensure that you have a strong support system, and just keep doing what you're doing. And I think lastly, one of the things that I see for business, if you're really solving a solution, customers can't deny your business. So as you think about starting businesses, start with the customer and work backwards. There's no way they can deny your business if there's a greater need for it.
And as we thank you for being here this week, some parting words to our listeners, some words of advice for them. What would you say to them?
My favorite quote is you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And I really mean that togetherness and build relationships, build connection. It's so important. And then lastly, earn trust. Trust is so important in the world. People won't support you if they don't trust you.
They got to trust you.
Exactly.
You remember that time you were about to get involved in the Miss Guyana pageant?
Oh, yeah.
What happened? You're like, why she's gonna be Miss Guyana? You already had like a big support team behind you. That was a couple of years ago.
I did. So 2 things. I was having eye surgery and I still need to go back and have eye surgery. I have this thing called pterygium and it was affecting my vision. So I decided to have eye surgery. And then the other part, a part of the truth, Amazon offered me a role. And I knew that being in the pageant was going to impact that opportunity since I'd needed to travel. But I needed to first show Amazon that I was committed. And it's hard to show that I'm committed if I'm traveling here and there and taking time off so early.
So you chose Amazon, and this has worked out pretty good for you.
I did choose Amazon.
Over the crown.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Tiffany. Thank you so much for being here with us and having this conversation with us. And we're hoping that our listeners and our viewers will have been able to learn something from your experiences, because experiences are pretty good. And it's good when people share those experiences. And it's always good coming to the source. And that's what we're going to be doing here on Sources. Again, we thank our sponsors, GTT Connects. They're connecting you to more places. The good folks across at the Fireside Grill, Republic Bank Guyana, and of course, we came to you this week from the Oasis Cafe, located on Carmichael Street here in Georgetown. So thanks a lot, Tiff. Pleasant and safe trip back to good old Seattle. If you see Meredith Grey, tell her I said hello across the Grey's Anatomy. You have a good time.
Thank you. And thank you, Guyana, for welcoming me back.